Welcome to the All the Hats We Wear podcast. This is your host, life coach, and productivity expert Scott Snow. In this show, you're going to learn the time management skills you need to be joyful, productive, and fulfilled in all areas of life. Doesn't that sound good? This is episode 49, and it's titled Your Legacy Starts Today. I'd like to start off by talking about Ruth Bader Ginsburg because I was really touched by a story about her friendship with another justice of the Supreme Court, Antonin Scalia. And, this really made me think of, in terms of putting on your different hats, like a friendship hat. I always advise people to identify all the different hats you wear, the different roles you play. And I'll list a couple of the prior podcast episodes that run through a process for identifying all these hats you wear. And most people have between 16 and 20 different hats that they're wearing. So with this friendship role, which is so important for everybody for the course of your whole life, I just thought this was so warm and genuine, this enduring friendship they had, Ruth, and they called him Nino. Over 40 years, they had this great friendship. They shared the love of opera and music. They would often go to the opera together. And they enjoyed Ruth's husband, Marty's, home-cooked food. They went on trips together. They rode a camel together. And it just seemed like a really charming friendship. I guess Ruth really appreciated Nino's sense of humor. So whereas most people, it was very difficult for them to get Ruth to laugh, Nino's biggest problem was keeping her from laughing so much. So it was a real nice friendship. Of course, we lost RBG. They also talked about how everybody appreciated Justice Scalia's talents for his impeccable writing, which that made me think of my writer role. And he was just able to be so clear in his writing. In dissenting opinions, he played a long game. If he failed to persuade his colleagues at the time, he wrote brilliantly for future law students to pore over his writings. So that's pretty inspirational, I think. This whole episode is about inspiration and leaving that legacy. What's the beauty that you encounter, and how will that be part of your legacy? Your legacy starts right now with what you do, your goals, your mission, all of the things that I like to talk about in this podcast and in my business and in my coaching. Scalia would spin gold out of the dullest dross, meaning just the most boring content. He could really make it sparkle. There was another article about Ruth on work-life balance, and she actually attributed a lot of her success in law school to her young daughter. 14 months old was her daughter when she started law school. And she said that every part of her life gave her respite from the other. So when she was home, she was able to be a mom. And then, she was away from all the arguments and the tediousness sometimes of the whatever work she was doing. And on the flip side, when she left, she could have her husband take over and she could concentrate on what she was doing at work. Once Ruth told Katie Couric in an interview, she said, quote, "You can't have it all at once, but over your lifespan," or she said, "over my lifespan, I think I've had it all. Can't have it all at once, but over your lifespan, you can have it all." So that's an inspiration too. There was a lot of attention about Ruth's imagination, that she had a goal that she never deviated from during her entire long career: to have not only the Constitution, but also society itself understand men and women as equal. She envisioned a world different from the one she grew up in. Now, we all have goals and we all encounter obstacles to those goals, but only few of us are able to confront head on the structural obstacles that stand in the way of our goals. Leaders are able to imagine a different world. I love that Sam Adams Beer created a beer just for her on her passing. It's called When There Are Nine IPA. And that quote came from when Ruth was asked how many women would be enough to be in the Supreme Court. And she said, when there are nine. So that means when all of them are women. In Sam Adams' press release for this product, they wrote, quote, "We lost a good one, and together we'll raise a toast to honor the inspiring and powerful woman's unwavering commitment to justice and lasting impact on society." Even the design of the beer can looked like a judge's robe with the black and then the kind of lacy, elaborate collar. Cool. Classy move by Sam Adams. My second story is about the Rolls Royce of puzzles. This is a company, a high-end puzzle company from Norwich, Vermont, called Stave Puzzles. I think it's a combination of the two co-founders, Steve and Dave, so they call it Stave. And these puzzles are really high end. They go from $150 all the way up to $6,000 and more. In the article, they even said that they've been contracted to do a custom puzzle for $10,000. They made bespoke, which means made for a particular customer, cherry-backed wooden puzzles that were elaborate and homemade, made by hand, handcrafted. The pieces were cut out of with a saw blade that was no wider than an eyelash, then sanded and polished. And they said the demand has been extraordinary during the pandemic, as you might believe. And why would you pay $1,000 for a puzzle? It was that attention to detail and the meticulous craftsmanship. And I'm always inspired when I hear about, a custom design, something that's so special that it completely stands apart. I'm thinking even of Jesse James' motorcycle, where you could get a motorcycle made by him and it takes, months and months of him just working on it. Made to order, handmade. Story number 3 is a little clip from Cynthia Nixon, who's the actress in Sex and the City and a lot of other movies. And she was talking about her mom. She lost her mom, and she was very, very close with her mom. And her mom used to say to her, quote, "You grieve most when you and the person who died have an incomplete connection," end quote. So Cynthia said that she missed her mom less because her mom is so inherently part of her. I thought that was interesting too. When we're talking about legacy and purpose in these big, important questions that are fun to think about. Story 4. Poet Audre Lorde wrote they put together a book called The Collected Works of Audre Lorde. She has written many other things, many other books. And this really drove home to me because she talks a lot about roles. And actually, she always introduced herself with all her different roles, which is right up our alley right here on the All the Hats We Wear podcast. She introduced herself in the same way. I am a Black, lesbian, mother, feminist, socialist, warrior, poet. So she loved including all those different roles. And you see it all in social media. Everyone's profile has, all these different things. And I love that. She wanted to demystify the assumption that these terms could not inhabit the same space. Examples, Black and lesbian, that you could be lesbian and a mom at the same time, that you could be a mother and a warrior, and that you could be a warrior and a poet. Story number 5. There was an obituary about Murray Shiskel. he was a screenwriter for Tootsie, the movie with Dustin Hoffman. If you haven't seen that, that's a lot of fun. It's a really good movie with Dustin as a male actor who can't get roles being a guy, so he dresses up as a woman and he gets a lead role on a soap opera. And he's a very strong character, so it's a lot of fun. And also, who was in that? Jessica Lange. So anyway, this guy was a writer. He even as a little boy, he was into storytelling, and he couldn't fall asleep unless he told himself a story. So what he did was he would think in bed and collect all the ideas and experiences, the bits and pieces of the day, and find a thread of a story from all those bits and pieces and create a little story to tell himself. He needed to escape from the reality in order to be calm. And I found that to be so interesting, especially since I really advocate doing an audio journal where each day you basically use your planner, or I also have a planner available on my website, allthehatswewear.com, as a PDF file. And each day you can jot down these little creative snippets, ideas that come up or thoughts. And then at the end of the day, you can just get a tape recorder or your phone or whatever and just dictate your thoughts. It could be 5 minutes a day. And you'll have this record of the most important thoughts and things that happen each day. That's invaluable, especially for a legacy. You're talking about passing that on to your kids and have them to be able to hear what was going on when they were little and all of that. Story 6. The actress and entrepreneur Taraji P. Henson, or Taraji. She had a quote in, I think it was Entrepreneur Magazine or Success Magazine. My why was greater than the fear. And I love that. We always talk about the why, and even the great Simon Sinek's book, Start with Why, and Purpose. And a couple of my interviews, we talked about that, identifying the why when things get tough. Like, how do you persevere during difficult times? I remember asking Sarah Safari, who climbed Mount Everest, how do you get through when you're, when it's minus 40 degrees and everything is swollen and you're hungry and you're so cold. And she said it was her whys. So when that why gets greater than the fear that you are struggling with, then you can move forward. And that's where I'm at too. So that's a beautiful quote for this podcast episode, I believe. And to wrap things up, I have the quote from Game of Thrones, one of my favorite quotes from that TV series, from Viserys, who is an evil, awful brother of the Dragon Queen, Daenerys. And he said to his sister, when they write the history of my reign, sweet sister, they will say it began today. And that's what I challenge you to do. Today is the beginning of your legacy. So make it strong. Good luck. I'd love to hear about your process. Let me know in the comments or contact me on my website, allthehatswewear.com. Thanks for joining me today. Live your legacy and start it today. You're meant to do great things. If you want to be an innovator and visionary, you have to manage your busy life like one. The All the Hats We Wear planner is the planner for the future. I want to give you a free month of the planner to try out for yourself. Nothing will slip through the cracks anymore. When you use the All the Hats We Wear planner, you'll have everything you need at your fingertips. All of your goals, a vision statement, a list of daily habits, and a checklist to track your progress. Key information for the small and large projects on your plate. Daily sheets to clarify your top outcomes for each day. A week at a glance section to plan for the coming weeks, and much more. The All the Hats We Wear planner will be your roadmap to a more joyful, productive, and fulfilling life. To claim your free month so you can see for yourself how it will streamline your busy life, visit allthehatswewear.com.